Okay, we've got the basic book made. So what we need now is to create the housing for it, or the sleeve. Now you could do that in material and make a nice material background, but I'm going to use some of this acrylic card. It's fairly, as you can see, it's quite heavy duty, and I've done a basic mock-up, but roughly these are going to be the sizes that I need for the actual sleeve, and that's what it's going to be made of and how it's going to be made. So basically, once we're done, it'll be like that, and you'll have a book. Although these edges here will come out slightly more. So that's what we're going to get on with now. I'm just going to show you a basic design in the next section, and we'll move on to that. I have a basic plan here, and it works around the one-page system. Obviously, if you've only got paper or card, that you have to do it in two sections. What you'd have to do is do the left side with the spine, and then on a separate piece of paper the right side with the spine, and then glue the two spines together. That will get you your size that you need. But fortunately for me, I have a full sheet of paper, so I can do it all in one sheet. So what we have here is we've got as left side that is going to be just slightly larger than the paper that we need it to be. We've got a bit of a gutter there, or a crease, and then we've got a spine, and exactly the same size as that we've got another gutter there, which then connects onto the right side. We have a flap that goes around there that will correspond with this, which is the same as this right side. That will fold over, and that will connect by being glued. So you get a little pocket there, and that's where you put your book, inside that pocket. So obviously we're going to have to make this outer part slightly larger than the actual book itself. The only other thing I might do is, and it's not necessary, but at this side I will have a folded section, just to give this side of the sleeve more of a bit of strength. And just again, to add strength, there's also a segment that corresponds to that there. So that's my design that I'm planning on doing. So let's have a look at how to basically do that. Now I'm just going to cut it out from one piece. If you do need to cut it out from two, just follow the principle that I mentioned to you about cutting that side and then cutting that side and joining it together with the spine. I started producing the sleeve, or a housing, on this paper, which is like acrylic board. It's fairly thick and strong. It's good because you can do a painting on it, but unfortunately at this size, if I open it up, it's just not big enough. Now the way to get around that is produce two sections, and on the spine produce a part of a spine there, and then on another page a part of a spine on that, and then put the two spines together, and then you'll have one whole thing like this. This is how I made that, and that's put together by two separated pieces, both having a spine, and then you join together with the spine. But glad to say I don't have to use this, because I've got this great big piece of paper which I forgot I got, which is pretty much similar. It's not quite as heavyweight as that one, but this I can do the entire design on one sheet, because if I open it up, there's loads of room, absolutely loads. So when you're designing your book as a whole, take into account what kinds of sizes of paper that you've got available to you to be able to produce various parts of the book, because you can make it an awful lot easier for yourself if you get hold of the right size paper in the first place, because you don't want to be attaching things. Okay, I'm going to start doing the outline design on this. I'm not going to show you it in real time, because each individual book, what you do, is going to be completely different to this. I'm not going to be going, oh, this is this measurement and this is that measurement. I'm just going to block out the design I need so it's ready for cutting. So I'm going to define an outer edge for the sleeve and do that on the bottom, and as you can see on the left hand side. I then use the book to give me a rough idea of how far I need to make it, and an extended portion just above it. I'll mark out enough for the left and right side, making marks where the spine will be using the book. I'll also make sure that that's all marked out right. Using a piece of paper as a template, I'll copy that over to the other side. Doing it this way makes it a lot easier to do the markings out. So we're starting to go to the flap area of the drawing, and we're doing all as verticals now. That's the central part of the book, and it's guttering where that will be. And we've also got the outer edges. So all we need now to do is the outer edge of the book, the same all the way around, and finally we need to put the flap onto the book, which will hold it. Right, I've got the design that I'm after. The only thing I will have to do, I should have put this down here and I forgot, but I've got space up there, so what I've done is I've put it up there, and I'll just flip the image over when I come to doing all the bending, and then that will be at that side, if you know what I mean. So we're ready to do the cutting. I'll get that cut out and we'll start doing the gluing and putting it all together. Now we'll cut out the template that we made earlier and drew up. Please be careful when you're using blades like this. I'm quite used to using them, and if it's easier for you, take chunks out of the paper so you can manoeuvre the paper around. But we're almost there with the cutting out. It's a very simple one, so we'll stop there. Right, so we've ended up with this basic shape. I've had to slightly invert it, and we're working on the back side of it now. But I can work with what pattern is there, and just reverse it. Not a big deal. So what I'm going to do now is score through the areas that are important for doing that. So I'm going to get the other end of the knife, not the sharp end, the blunt end. I'm just going to use that as a, and I'm not going to score it through for me, roughly. There you go. You may have a scoring machine or device that will do it a lot better than what I'm doing it. And again, we'll do that. Make sure we're on the back side of it. Very lightly scoring it, only so that it kind of is told where to go. So we've got that one. And obviously with our one, what we are going to do is invert it like that. That's nice. And we'll go on the inner guttering, if you want to call it that. Fold that one in, and that will help with the tension at the back of the on the spine of the book. You don't have to do it like this, you can just have it flat going into it, but it's just something I want to do with it. One more. Which is this one here. Back of the knife, not too heavy, you're only scoring, you're only helping it to go in the position that you want it to go. Right, that should be fine. Now, one more thing we need to score out is this one here, which is going to form the lip for the place where the paper will go. There we go. So just bring that round. Right, we're now ready to start thinking about folding this over. We need now to just do a fold down the centre line here. So we've made sure that they're both exactly the same size, and we'll just get a fold there, and then that will like ultimately fold over. So let's see if we can, again it's the, not the blade side. And we continue on this. And that should allow us to fold that like that accurately. And hopefully that's, well, it's just ever so slightly out, but we can make tiny adjustments. Right, hopefully it's starting to look like it's going to come together. So one thing we've got to do now, we've got that kind of shaped out, is cut a line down there so that the paper can kind of fold in. So that's what we'll do next. So it's this one here, and that needs to go to about there, no farther. And I'm using the blade end of it now. Right, there we go. That goes like that. That will fold in eventually. Make some slight adjustments with that. Okay, I'm happy with that now. Everything seems to be in place, and it looks as though it's going to fit nicely, the book. So what needs to be done is gluing various parts together. So what I will do first is glue this bit. Now that is going to be the open sleeve for the book to go into. So we've got to make sure that we don't glue that edge. So the only bit that we are actually going to glue, we could either put the glue on the outer edge there, or we could put the glue there. But I'm going to put it there. So, but you could put it on there if you wanted. So let's do that. Now the glue I'm using is this. It's the Hobbycraft, or I don't know, in America it's probably Hobby Lobby or whatever, and it's a PVA glue, and it's basically for paper and stuff like that. And to help it along and speed the process up, I will be using my heat gun. So we'll do that, making sure that we've got that right end, and it's not in there. You could put it in there, but I'm not going to. I'm going to put this a good application of this glue. It's good once it actually gets a grip of it. But let's see if I can get a good spread of it. I'm going to take that off and remind myself that it's that one, and use the excess on there. So you don't use a huge amount. So there's a thin application on there, and there's a good application on there. Right, let's now squash that down. I'm trying to avoid making sure that I don't get glue everywhere, because that tends to be my downfall. In saying that, it's going to get decorated this anyway, so it don't absolutely matter. So let's see if I can get something that's heavy to hold it down for a bit. And we'll come back to that once it's fully dry. Literally just, I mean, you could, if you don't want to use a heat gun, you could leave it to dry for a couple of hours. It's fairly long, fairly short process, the drying on this glue. Some glues might take 24 hours, but this is not too bad. It becomes tacky and have the ability to hold the two things together fairly quickly. But what I am going to do is speed that process up. So as not to make too much noise, I'm not going to do the heat gun on camera, because it's loud. I can't speak while you're doing it, and you know how to use one of these. Just be careful with regard potential overeating it, obviously. Right, that's our part that holds the book section. Let's have a look, see if it goes in okay. I've probably been a little bit generous with that, but it's better to be generous than it is to be stingy with it. So yeah, that looks as though that'll work perfectly. And then obviously when job's done, it's gonna be like that. So we're making good steady progress, and we'll move on to gluing this section. Make it a bit easier for me to deal with this, before I glue this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that line there, so I can just deal with that there. So let's do that. I may regret this. It might cause an awful lot more work. But, you know, it's a piece of paper. Right, that should now be cut. Yeah, so what I'll do now, and that will make that a lot easier to glue later. Because all I'll have to do is go do and across and then maybe round there. Right, the thing is with this, right, I don't want, you see these gutterings here, these extended bits, I don't want them to be in any way gluey. So I've got to be careful how much glue I apply here. So let's hope we get this right. I'm being really lean with this, not too much, but all the way to the end. Might have a bit overkill there. You can take it to the edge of the thing itself, but don't go over into the guttering, because we don't want them being sticky. That's the thing that gives the book a little bit of flexibility to be able to bend and move. Right. I've got a little bit on there, so I'm gonna really work hard to get rid of that. There we go. Just checking to make sure that there's no more, and there's not a lot that'll just bleed over. That's it. It's a good fair application of glue. So here we go with the spine, making sure that that's accurate. Okay, glue everywhere. I hate using glue. It's a good job it's getting done over. That's why I'm not being too fussy about it, because it is going to get decorated over, or maybe even gessoed and used as a background for a painting. Right, I'm just going to get the heat gun on it, so I'll be back once this is dry. What I've decided to do with this, at this side, rather than just glue it all round, I'm going to use it as another pocket for other page connections. I'm going to score there where I put that line and then fold that in. So let me just make sure that I'm not on so I don't go through it all, because that's the likelihood if you're not careful. So again, taking the blunt end of the blade, there we go. You're just slightly scoring them, so we give it a way to move forward. And what I will do is I'll just glue that down. Let me just see where that potentially is, so I've got an idea. So it goes about there, and at the other side, about there. So let's see where that's going to end. So that makes the gluing an awful lot easier, because I've got this edge here and I can just glue that, which is a better idea anyway, rather than going all the way around and it not being of any use. So we're making sure that we're at that correct side that's going to go inside. Just going to splodge it around a bit, making sure that we don't get it on the other side. Good even distribution of glue. Get rid of all these, because I know for a fact that they're going to come back to make a mess all over. Right, move that a little bit out of the way, and then turn that in. Just hold this down a little bit while I'm getting myself ready to glue. Now I'll show you what I've been doing with the heat gun, but you're going to have to put up with me heat gun for a bit. So, heat gun. We've got this edge glued down, and that provides an opening so that we can put another book in there, so we can have it at both sides. This one's a large one, which is very spacious and bigger than what I need for the actual book itself. So if I do another book and it's larger, I can put that in. And this one will fit exactly the size of the book that I've already shown you earlier that I've made. Let's just have a look. Might be a tiny bit tight, but we'll see if I can get it to go in. There we go. That holds it absolutely in place. And roughly that's the housing for the book. There are things that you'd have to adjust. Obviously, if I were doing it a bit more tighter to the size, I probably wouldn't have put as much edging around it. Things like that are down to your personal design and what you want in it, but this is not the finished thing. It will get decorated, and also we'll have a piece of bungee string in there coming out of it and clasping it like it does on the original one. So that's fine, and obviously it fits in the other side. So if I'm painting like that and I go along all the way to the end like that and just paint that side, what I can then do is flip it over or turn it that way and paint the other side. Now some people like to do that in the books. I personally don't, but if it's a book and you're wanting to keep it like a book, why not paint on the other side of the page? That's really up to you. So we'll just move on to the last segment, which is going to be putting the bungee elastic on it so that it stays in place like that when it's being transported. And apart from that, really it's just a matter of you personally decorating it. Right, we want it in the middle, and it says it's 16 centimeters, right, which is good for me because that means it's 8, the centre. Now let's have a look at inches just for you guys who I might not be accurate with this. 6 and 1, 2, 3. Is it 3/10 or 3/8? I don't know. Anyway, it's irrelevant that anyway, because it's going to be different on yours, dependent on what you're going to be making it. But I know that the centre of this particular one is 8. Right, let's go to the bit, the actual centre part there, the middle of the spine, not all we're going to measure is from there to there now, not this guttering, just the centre of the spine. So where's that going to go? Let's get a measurement that I can actually see. I'll start it at 20. So that's 16. Write that down, 16. 3 and 5. 6, 7, 8. Right, so I want to go from there. I want to go to 8 in. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. So according to my calculations, that's the exact centre. So now I need to get a tool to broddle it out and make an hole in it. So I've got this needle. You could use a broddle or a nail or whatever, but I just want to make a preliminary hole in it, and then we'll try and use something a bit more, because at this moment in time, first and most important thing is accuracy. See if I can get a pen now. Now I've got an hole all the way through it. I don't want to be pushing too hard. As you can now see, I've got a basic hole in there now. Let's see if I can use this. This might be a bit too big for it. Just be very careful what you're doing with this. at this stage. What we're thinking about adding is one of these, but you might want to leave it till you finish the decoration and do it after. And obviously that goes, because this is just to show you, I'm not really gonna be, there you go, it looks very nice that, and obviously I'll hammer that down, and I'll just do that off camera. As you can see, that's now hammered in place. I didn't have an hammer, I had to wing it, so it's a little bit skewed. That don't matter. We're going to thread as bungee through it and tie a knot, but what I probably would do under normal circumstances is probably put a bit of glue around that, and I might do that anyway because I'm going to tie it off and glue the end bits. Okay, I've got a piece of bungee here. This is not the length I'm particularly after. I've just tied it off. The trick of getting this bungee through, that's the hard bit. See if I can battle my way through it. It's actually gone in first time round. So I brought it through, right. It's okay, that will go as far as it needs to go. And let's get the book. And see whether that's the right size for it. I might have got it right first time. Let's have a look. No, it's a bit way too long. So what you have to do is undo your knot and redo your knot till you get it to the right thing. Right, that's that knot. Let's see if that's any good. And that will be spot on for it. So what we now need to do is make that knot permanent. So don't need too much of it dangling. What I tend to do is I glue it, and I also do a little bit of stitching on it. Get some of this glue. Just to make sure. So that now is heat glued together, and let's put the book back in it. Right, let's see. Adjusting that a bit. Yeah, so apart from the fact that I put a bit too much edge there, I'm happy with that, but that means I can use it for other things other than this particular piece of paper. So, and like I said, what you do from here on is you can decorate it in whatever way you want, because it's a piece of acrylic paper. It's fairly robust, so you could put wallpaper over it or whatever you want to do. But that's the project anyway, and I'd like to thank you for being along for this length of time, as it's not one that's been a short video. So thanks, and I hope that it's helped you to see how much goes into actually making a book. But once you've made one, you've got something that you can use, and it's very practical for use, and you don't have to go out and buy ton loads of these books that cost an arm and a leg. So thanks again. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and please click the like button as well if you are, and we'll see you in another creative video soon. Bye.